A woman who goes by the name Eugene caught her fiancé cheating on her. Before catching him red-handed, Eugene had previously been watching him through security cameras. He often used to give a code to his mistress on yellow paper. Eugene is a 36-year-old woman and a successful entrepreneur who leads a large company. She is known for being strict and a perfectionist in everything she does. Ever since that incident, Eugene has hated all things yellow, and all the employees in her office were forced to throw away all yellow-colored items when they found out about Eugene's hatred for the color. Next, we will be introduced to a man named Co. Bo. He works as a delivery man. Before working as a courier, Bo was a skydiving trainer. He has been working so hard in order to afford his nephew's ear surgery. Every day, Bo delivers packages using his antique motorcycle, which he has modified to support his work. We cut back to Eugene, who still can't quite get over her fiancé. Due to her fiancé's behavior, Eugene decides to break up with him, even though they will be getting married soon. A while later, Eugene gets a video call from her best friend, Sophie. Sophie lives in Paris with her children and husband. Eugene pours out her thoughts to Sophie. She also tells her about the problems she is going through and about her engagement that has to end. Sophie encourages Eugene by saying that she is sure that one day she will find a good man. However, Eugene has decided not to be in a relationship with any man. Her trust in men is gone, and she says that she has decided to never get married. However, even though she had decided not to get married, Eugene hoped that she could have a child. From her point of view, a mother and her child's relationship is one that lasts forever. The next day, Eugene expresses her wish to have a child to her assistant, not through marriage or sexual relationships but through in vitro fertilization. Eugene then tells her assistant to find a man who is willing to donate his sperm, and of course, the man must match the criteria she wants. Eugene also insists that her assistant keep her plan a secret. To carry out the plan, Eugene's assistant then advertises a vacancy for a male assistant, which is actually just a cover. One by one, men began to arrive to take part in the job interview, but unfortunately, none of the men matched Eugene's criteria. In the end, Eugene decided to stop her search. Around the same time, Bo arrives at Eugene's company to deliver a package, and he happens to see a job advertisement for a male assistant on the bulletin board. Seeing the large salary he would get if he succeeded in becoming an assistant at Eugene's company, Bo decides to apply for the position. Apart from that, Bo is also in need of money for his nephew's surgery. Moments later, we meet a female employee who has just been fired for manipulating the company's financial data. She looks very upset and angry, especially when the things she was carrying fall down. While she is cleaning up her belongings, she sees Eugene and his assistant. Feeling upset about being fired, the woman desperately stabs Eugene with a cutter. Thankfully, Bo is right there to save Eugene from the woman's crazy stunt. After her failed attempt, the woman finally tells Eugene that she will lose her child's custody if she no longer works. She doesn't want to lose the child that she loves so much. At her confession, Eugene feels sorry for her and eventually forgives her. Eugene then says that she will provide her with compensation until she finds a new job. Thanks to Eugene's kindness, the woman admitted her mistake and thanked her as well. Once the matter is settled, Eugene, who seems to be interested in Bo, offers him a job interview. After undergoing various tests, it turns out that Bo fits Eugene's criteria perfectly. Bo is accepted as Eugene's assistant, and soon he gets a work contract. Bo signs his employment contract without even reading it in the first place. Bo actually doesn't know what he should do yet because the most important thing for him right now is money. Eugene's assistant then explains to Bo that he will take her place as Eugene's assistant. The next day, Bo starts his job, and that morning he has to pick Eugene up from her house. Bo makes a mistake on his first day of work. He arrives late. Upset by Bo's tardiness, Eugene then tells Bo to quickly adapt to the rhythm of her daily activities, otherwise, she will not hesitate to fire him. Bo's first day at work was a complete mess. None of his work went well. On the second day, Eugene asks Bo not to make any more mistakes, especially today, as she is meeting with a very important client. On the way to the meeting with the client, they are unfortunately stuck in a very bad traffic jam. Bo then initiates finding an alternative road, and despite the longer distance, he is confident that he can avoid the traffic jam and get Eugene to her meeting on time. After detouring to another road, beyond Bo's expectations, they are again stuck in traffic. Consequently, Eugene is late for her meeting. Eugene scolds Bo harshly. She almost fires him for his mistake. Bo then asks Eugene to get out of her car because, apparently, Bo has asked one of his friends for help. Bo finally drives Eugene to the meeting place with the motorcycle that his friend brought, and Eugene, who has no other choice, finally agrees to ride the motorcycle with Bo. As she arrives in front of her office, Eugene meets her important client, who had just arrived at the same time as her. The client greets Eugene respectfully and expresses his admiration for Eugene. He said he admires Eugene because, as the leader of a big company, she does not feel reluctant to ride a motorcycle to her office. The client also expressed his interest in the motorcycle Eugene was riding, as he liked old, antique things. Thanks to his admiration, the client agreed to work with Eugene and sign their contract. Eugene looks very happy, and her gaze is only on Bo. A few days later, Bo is taken to the hospital to have his sperm retrieved. Bo thought this was just a health test. While watching a video provided by the hospital, Bo then proceeds to do what he needs to do to get his sperm out. In the middle of the process, unfortunately, the video that Bo's watching is getting stuck, so Bo fails to release his sperm. Eugene's female assistant and Eugene then gathered to discuss Bo's failure. As a result of failing to provide the sperm Eugene needed, the assistant says that Bo's employment contract is over. The female assistant finally informs Bo that Eugene doesn't actually need a new assistant, he was recruited for his sperm. The sperm will then be donated to Eugene for artificial insemination. It was done because Eugene wanted a child without having to be in a relationship with a man. Bo is visibly offended by Eugene's words and decides to leave, but his steps are halted when Eugene offers him to become her personal assistant for a much higher salary. In the end, Bo agrees to return to work and donate his sperm to Eugene. Eugene's female assistant then briefs Bo on how he should take care of his health, what he should eat every day, and what kind of underwear he should wear in order to create a superior sperm seed. The assistant, whom Bo called Miss Wei, then hands Bo a form to fill out. The form is to be filled in with all of Bo's personal data, including his sexual activities. One night, Bo is enjoying his dinner on the street and deliberately orders a beer, whereas in his employment contract he is required to stop consuming alcoholic drinks. Unexpectedly, Eugene came and found out what he had done. Seeing Eugene's arrival, Bo apologizes to her, realizing that he has made a mistake. Instead of being angry at him, Eugene orders a beer as well, and that makes Bo feel even more guilty for breaking the terms of his employment contract. Soon after, Eugene's female assistant arrives with the medical staff, and Bo is forced to go with them to the hospital in order to eliminate all the alcohol and toxins from his system. The following night, Eugene calls Bo and asks him to come to her house right away. Arriving at Eugene's house, Bo is shocked when Eugene asks her to go upstairs to her room. In his mind, he assumes that Eugene is inviting him to make love to him. Bo undressed and got ready. However, it turns out that what he is thinking is not what Eugene meant. Eugene called him just to ask him to change the bulbs in her room. In the end, he has to endure the embarrassment of his actions. On the next day, Bo sets out to pick Eugene up, but at the same time, Eugene's ex-fiancée arrives with a bouquet of flowers. The man came to ask Eugene to come back to him. Eugene realized that Bo could hear her conversation with her ex-fiancé. Eugene then invites him into her house. Eugene then tells her ex-fiancé that she no longer has love for him and will never come back to him. However, the man can't take Eugene's decision and keeps begging Eugene to come back to him, which leads to further arguments. Fortunately, Bo made his way into the house and chased the man away. Eugene then takes Bo to see her father, who lives in a nursing home. Eugene's father has Alzheimer's disease, and as a result of the disease, he suffers from memory loss. Eugene requests that the doctor who is treating her father provide the best treatment for his recovery, and she is willing to pay whatever it costs. As Eugene gets ready to go home, her father approaches her. He thinks Eugene is his wife and asks Eugene to take him home. Eugene firmly declines her father's request and then leaves him. Once outside, Bo criticizes Eugene for how she treated her father, saying that she shouldn't have treated him like that. Eugene then insists that what she did to her father is none of Bo's business, there is no need for him to interfere in her personal matters. The day passes, another evening arrives, and Eugene is heading back to her house after a long day of work, but she doesn't find Bo there. Eugene tries to contact him, however, Bo's phone is off. In the end, Eugene decides to take a taxi home by herself. Arriving home, Eugene is surprised to see her house in such a messy and dirty condition. It turned out that, without Eugene's permission, Bo had secretly brought her father back to Eugene's house. Eugene is so upset that Bo dares to interfere in her personal affairs that the two of them get into an argument. In the end, Bo decides to quit his job. A few days later, Bo gets a message from Eugene asking him to pay a penalty because he had unilaterally terminated the employment contract. Bo then immediately goes to Eugene's office in a rage. Bo claims that he can't afford to pay such a huge fine. Instead of being upset, Eugene burst out laughing at Bo's antics. Eugene then explains the reason why her and her father's relationship is not going well. In the past, her father used to have an affair, even in front of Eugene's mother. Ever since then, her mother and father have been arguing. One day, unable to endure her father's behavior, Eugene's mother committed suicide. Her mother's death didn't make him realize his faults. Instead, it made him even crazier. He often invited women to come to the house. Eugene then decided to leave her father and live in Paris. After hearing Eugene's story, Bo apologizes to her for being prejudiced against her. The story then continues at Eugene's house. Eugene is curious about why Bo seems so ambitious to earn money. Bo then shares the situation he's going through. He needs a lot of money for his nephew's surgery, who has hearing problems and requires ear membrane implant surgery. That night, the two of them chatted and drank a lot of wine until they got drunk. The next morning, Eugene wakes up and is shocked to find that she has been sleeping with Bo all night. A few days later, Eugene takes Bo to Paris for the IVF program that she had planned. Arriving in Paris, they meet Eugene's best friend, Sophie, who has been living in Paris for a long time. Eugene asks Bo to leave, as she needs some time alone with Sophie to discuss her plans. Sophie, who seems to know that there are signs of love between Eugene and Bo, advises Eugene not to do IVF and asks Eugene to marry Bo instead. Eugene rejects her best friend's suggestion, insisting that her relationship with Bo is purely for work. The day of Eugene's artificial insemination procedure arrives, and Eugene is ready to undergo all the procedures that she will undergo. Later that night, Bo walks up to Eugene, who seems to be thinking about something. Eugene then reveals that she is thinking about what she will say later if her son asks about his father's absence. Making the work contract an excuse, Eugene begs Bo to help her. Bo then suggests various scenarios that Eugene can tell her son in the future, from Bo dying in a car crash to him drowning in the toilet while he was drunk to an accident that Bo experienced when he was guiding a soldier in skydiving. At that time, Bo had to save a soldier who lost consciousness shortly after he jumped from a plane. During the rescue, Bo fell from a height and disappeared. Bo then says that he is tired and wants to sleep, and he leaves Eugene alone, who remains silent after hearing Bo's scenarios. One day, Sophie throws a party at her house. At the party, Sophie congratulates Eugene on her pregnancy, and everyone seems happy for the good news. Bo then invites Eugene to dance. They look happy. While hugging Eugene, Bo says that he wants to spend his life with her. Eugene freezes at Bo's words, then lets go of his embrace. Afterwards, from a distance, Eugene watches Bo being very warm to the children who happen to be attending the party, and when Sophie sees what her best friend is doing, she asks Eugene to accept Bo's request. Sophie tells Eugene to live with Bo, as she believes Eugene has fallen in love with Bo, and it goes the same with Bo. After the party, Eugene contemplates her thoughts in her room, wondering what she should do, live with Bo or stick to her original commitment of not getting married. Eugene then goes to see Bo and asks him to go home, as his work is done. Bo is visibly disappointed by Eugene's decision. The next day, Bo gets ready to return to Hong Kong, but he seems hesitant to leave Eugene and asks for an explanation of what Eugene has done to him. Eugene chooses to remain silent, without saying anything, and lets Bo go. The story then continues to the day when Bo's nephew successfully underwent his ear surgery. Bo's sister-in-law is very grateful for Bo's kindness. Day after day passes, but Bo keeps thinking about Eugene. In his longing for Eugene and his future baby, Bo makes a gift, a book containing his and Eugene's love story. In the book, Bo also apologizes to his son for not being by his side, and he also tells his son to take good care of Eugene. Bo then ships the book to Paris. We return to Eugene, who is currently still in Paris and seems unhappy. When a courier delivers a package to her, in her imagination, she sees Bo coming to her. Eugene finally comes to her senses and realizes that it was just her illusion. After reading the contents of the book, Eugene found a ring inside. The following morning, Sophie and her husband are in a panic as Eugene has disappeared. In the midst of trying to find Eugene, Bo shows up. He's back in Paris. Bo came to Paris because Sophie had previously contacted him about Eugene's disappearance. Shopai, her husband, and Bo then head somewhere. According to the information Sophie got, Eugene might be there. Along the way, Sophie shares what really happened to Eugene. During her pregnancy, Jean lived alone, and she prepared everything for the birth of her child by herself. One day, Jean had a hemorrhage, and she had to lose her future baby. For her loss, Jean was sad and suffered from depression, until one day, a courier came to deliver a gift from Beau. From that day on, Jean disappeared. They managed to find Jean after all, standing on the edge of the cliff. Beau hurries over to Jean and tries to calm her down. Jean looks frustrated and wants to end her life. To calm her down, Beau recounts the skydiver's story he once told Jean. Beau tells her that it was a true incident that happened to his late brother. Beau says if Jean wants to die, then he will die with her. At the end of the story, Jean and Beau jump together from the top of the cliff, not to commit suicide, but to jump using the skydiving equipment that Beau had previously prepared. They both fly through the air, and Beau finally manages to melt Jean's heart. They then travel above the beautiful city of Paris and land in front of the cathedral, kissing passionately. The crowd cheers, as if they share in the happiness they feel. The movie closes with a scene showing Jean and Beau's life with their children.